October 14, 2024. Bray Road, Wisconsin. 3:17 a.m. The dashcam footage shows everything. A county patrol vehicle sits idle on a stretch of rural highway, headlights cutting through fog so thick it looks like the forest is breathing. Sheriff Conroy Hale steps out, shotgun in hand, boots crunching on gravel. He's 52 years old, built like a linebacker who never stopped training, with a jaw that could break granite and eyes that have seen too much. His reputation precedes him. The lawman who doesn't believe in ghosts, doesn't believe in mercy, and sure as hell doesn't believe monsters deserve to live. But tonight, something is different. The air smells wrong. Metallic. Electric. Like the moment before lightning strikes. Hale aims his flashlight into the tree line, and that's when he sees it. 7 feet tall. Covered in dark, matted fur. Eyes that glow red in the beam. The creature they call the Beast of Bray Road. Except it's not attacking. It's running. Sprinting through the undergrowth like something is chasing it. Something worse. Hale raises his weapon. His finger tightens on the trigger. But before he can fire, the beast stops. Turns. Looks directly at him. And in that split second, Hale sees something in those eyes that shouldn't be there. Fear. Pure, primal terror. Then the creature bolts deeper into the woods, and the fog swallows it whole. Back at the station, Hale stands before a map covered in red pins. 3 bodies in 2 weeks. Sarah Clemens, 43, found off County Road M with her throat torn out. David Torres, 31, discovered near the old lumber mill, his chest cavity opened like a grotesque flower. And just last night, Emily Brennan, 19, pulled from a drainage ditch with injuries so severe the medical examiner refused to describe them over the phone. Hale taps the map with his knuckle. His voice is gravel and conviction. The Beast of Bray Road killed these people. And I'm going to finish what my father started 30 years ago. This ends now. But as he says those words, his deputy, a young woman named Torres, no relation to the victim, asks the question nobody wants to hear. Sheriff, what if it's not the beast? What if something else is out there? Hale's expression hardens. There is nothing else. Just a predator that's been killing for decades, and a community that's been too afraid to stop it. Not anymore. To understand this story, you need to understand Bray Road. It's not just a place. It's a phenomenon. A legend that's been growing roots in Wisconsin soil since the 1930s. The first recorded sighting came from a farmer named Victor Breezen, who claimed he saw a creature that looked like a wolf standing on its hind legs, watching him from the edge of his property. He said its eyes reflected his lantern light like 2 burning coals. People laughed. Called him drunk. But then the sightings kept coming. 1947. A schoolteacher named Martha Howell reported seeing something massive and bipedal crossing the road in front of her car. She swerved, crashed into a ditch, and when rescuers arrived, they found deep claw marks on her driver's side door. 1961. A group of teenagers camping near Bray Road heard howling that didn't sound like any wolf or coyote they'd ever heard. It sounded almost human. Almost. 1989. Linda Godfrey, a local reporter, interviewed multiple witnesses who all described the same thing. A creature between 6 and 7 feet tall, covered in dark fur, with a canine face and eyes that glowed red in the dark. Bipedal. Intelligent. Watching. The Beast of Bray Road became Wisconsin's most famous cryptid. Towns started selling t-shirts. Halloween festivals featured beast costumes. There were bumper stickers that read, "I break for Bigfoot's cousin." It was all very Wisconsin. Treat your monsters like mildly annoying neighbors who refuse to mow their lawn. Keep it light. Keep it fun. Never admit you're actually scared. But Sheriff Conroy Hale wasn't scared. He was obsessed. And that obsession started when he was 9 years old. His father, Sheriff Marcus Hale, disappeared on Bray Road during a routine patrol. No body. No blood. No evidence. Just an empty cruiser with the door hanging open and the radio still transmitting static. Young Conroy spent his entire childhood waiting for his father to come home, and when he finally accepted that wouldn't happen, he made a promise. Whatever took his father would pay. He built his entire career on that promise. Joined the force at 21. Made detective at 28. Elected sheriff at 39. His platform was simple. Protect citizens from threats, natural or otherwise. He didn't believe in the supernatural, but he believed in accountability. If something killed people in his county, it would be hunted, captured, or killed. No exceptions. Except here's the thing about obsession. It makes you see patterns that aren't there. It makes you ignore evidence that doesn't fit your narrative. And it makes you absolutely certain you're the hero of the story, even when you're not. Because while Hale was building his legend as the monster hunter of Wisconsin, something else was happening in those woods. Something the reports never mentioned. Something the witnesses never saw. A presence that moved through Bray Road like smoke through cracks in a wall. And it wasn't the beast. Old-timers in the area, the ones who'd lived there long enough to remember things the town preferred to forget, they knew. They'd seen the way animals acted near certain parts of the forest. How birds refused to land. How deer would rather break their legs jumping fences than walk through specific clearings. How even insects seemed to avoid certain trees. They knew the beast wasn't the problem. Never had been. But nobody listened to old-timers. And Sheriff Hale sure as hell wasn't going to start now. The next morning, Hale returns to the site where Emily Brennan's body was found. The area has been processed, but he needs to see it again. Needs to understand the kill pattern. Except when he arrives, the forensic report in his hand doesn't match what he's seeing. The report describes massive trauma consistent with a large predator. Claw marks. Bite radius suggesting a canine jaw structure. Typical Beast of Bray Road MO. But Hale kneels beside the drainage ditch and sees something different. The cuts are too clean. Too precise. Like surgical incisions, not tearing. The bones aren't broken. They're bent. Curved inward at angles that suggest crushing pressure, not biting force. And strangest of all, there's almost no blood. Not sprayed on the surrounding vegetation. Not pooled in the ditch. The body was drained. Hale photographs everything. He's about to leave when he hears it. A low, rumbling growl from somewhere in the tree line. He draws his weapon, turns slowly. The beast is standing 30 feet away, partially concealed behind a massive oak. But it's not in attack posture. It's hunched. Favoring its left side. Injured. Their eyes meet. Hale should fire. Every instinct, every year of training, every promise he made to his father's memory tells him to pull the trigger. But something stops him. The beast isn't baring its teeth. Isn't advancing. It's just watching him with those red eyes, and there's something in that gaze that feels disturbingly human. Recognition, maybe. Or warning. Then the beast does something that makes no sense. It turns and runs. Not toward Hale. Away from him. Deeper into the woods, toward the old state forest preserve where nobody goes anymore. And Hale, against every protocol, every regulation, every shred of common sense, follows. The chase takes him half a mile into dense undergrowth. His radio loses signal. His phone shows no bars. The forest here is older, darker. The trees grow so close together their branches interlock overhead, blocking out the sun. It's only 11 a.m., but it feels like dusk. Hale's about to give up when he sees them. Shadows. Moving against the light. He stops, raises his flashlight, and that's when his brain does something it hasn't done since he was a child. It refuses to process what he's seeing. Because the shadows aren't behaving correctly. When he moves his light left, they move right. When he steps forward, they flow backward. They're moving independently of any light source, as if the darkness itself has become autonomous. His training kicks in. Auditory hallucinations. Visual distortions. Possible gas leak or spore exposure. Except his CO detector isn't reading anything. And he feels fine. Physically fine. Mentally, he's starting to doubt that. He forces himself to keep moving. That's when he finds the marks. Scratched deep into the forest floor, carved through fallen leaves and topsoil. They look like claw marks at first glance. 4 parallel gouges, each about 8 inches long. But when Hale kneels to examine them, he sees patterns. Repetition. Intentionality. These aren't random scrapes. They're symbols. He photographs them, makes notes. His rational mind catalogs them as territorial markers. Except territorial markers are designed to warn competitors away. These feel different. Protective, almost. Like a barrier. Or a warning that says, don't go further. Naturally, Hale goes further. The beast's trail leads to a clearing about 40 feet across. The ground here is wrong. Too flat. Too uniform. Like something pressed it smooth. And in the center of the clearing sits an object that doesn't belong. A metal box, about 3 feet square, covered in rust and forest debris. Hale approaches carefully. The box has a latch, but no lock. He reaches for it. That's when he hears the sound. It starts low, almost below the threshold of hearing. A vibration more than a noise. Then it rises in pitch, becoming a screech like metal scraping against metal, mixed with something organic. Something wet. Hale spins around, weapon drawn, but there's nothing there. Just the forest. Just the shadows. Just that sound, growing louder, coming from everywhere and nowhere. He runs. Doesn't think about it. Doesn't plan it. Just runs back the way he came, chest burning, lungs screaming, until he breaks through the tree line onto Bray Road and his radio crackles back to life. Deputy Torres's voice comes through, distorted. "Sheriff, where have you been? We've been trying to reach you for 20 minutes. Hale checks his watch. He's been in the woods for 3 hours. That night, he can't sleep. He sits in his office, reviewing the photographs from his phone. The symbols in the dirt. The metal box. The shadows that moved wrong. He tells himself there's a rational explanation. Has to be. Because if there isn't, then everything he's believed for 30 years is wrong. His computer screen flickers. Once. Twice. Then displays a file he didn't open. Security footage from a trail camera set up near the Brennan crime scene. Time stamp shows 3 a.m., the night of the murder. Hale leans forward. The footage shows Emily Brennan walking down Bray Road. She's on her phone, not paying attention. Then she stops. Looks up. Her expression changes from casual to confused to terrified in the span of 2 seconds. She starts backing away from something off camera. Then she turns and runs straight into the woods. The beast enters the frame 5 seconds later. But it's not chasing her. It's running parallel to her path, trying to cut her off. Trying to turn her back toward the road. And then something else appears in the footage. A shape that the camera can barely register. Tall. Wrong. Moving in a way that suggests too many joints. It follows Emily into the woods. The beast follows it. 30 seconds later, the beast runs back into frame. Alone. Injured. Looking directly at the camera with those red eyes. And if Hale didn't know better, he'd swear the creature looked guilty. Hale spends the next 2 days investigating farms and properties near the crime scenes. The locals are cooperative at first, but as he asks more questions, they become evasive. Nervous. Like they know something they're not supposed to say. At the Harlow farm, he finds 6 dead cattle. Throats intact. No visible wounds. The farmer, a man in his 70s named Eugene Harlow, just shakes his head when Hale asks what happened. They just laid down and died, Eugene says. All at once. Like something scared them so bad their hearts gave out. At the Mitchell property, the family dog is missing. When Hale asks about it, Mrs. Mitchell starts crying. We heard it barking in the middle of the night, she says. And then this sound. Like someone dragging a knife across a chalkboard, but deeper. Vibrating. The barking stopped. We found his collar the next morning, torn clean in half, but no blood. No body. Nothing. Pattern after pattern after pattern. Dead animals with no clear cause. Witnesses reporting sounds that don't match any known wildlife. And strangest of all, trails that appear and disappear. Multiple people report walking the same path 3 or 4 times and having it look different each time. Trees in different positions. Landmarks that shouldn't have moved. Hale tries to rationalize it. Mass hysteria. Shared delusion. Except he's seen the trail camera footage. He's seen the shadows move wrong. And now, in the back of his mind, a voice that sounds disturbingly like his father's is asking the question he doesn't want to answer. What if you're hunting the wrong monster? He pushes that voice down. Focuses on the evidence. That's when he remembers something his father used to say. The county keeps more secrets than it keeps records. As sheriff, Hale has access to archives going back to the 19th century. Most of it is boring. Property disputes. Tax records. But buried in a file cabinet in the basement, he finds something that stops him cold. A folder marked, Project Threshold, 1964, Confidential. Inside are reports from what appears to be a government-contracted research initiative. The language is dense, full of technical jargon, but Hale pieces it together. The project was studying something called perceptual field manipulation and localized dimensional instability. In layman's terms, they were trying to create zones where sensory input could be controlled. Where reality itself could be bent. The experiment took place in the old State Forest Preserve. The same area where Hale found the metal box. According to the reports, initial tests were successful. They managed to create a bubble where subjects experienced auditory and visual hallucinations on command. But then something went wrong. The bubble expanded beyond their control. 7 researchers went into the forest to shut it down manually. None of them came out. The project was shut down. The forest was closed to the public under the guise of environmental protection. And the whole thing was classified. Buried. Forgotten. Except someone, or something, still remembered. Hale finds a name attached to one of the reports. Dr. Sarah Westfield, project lead. He runs a search. She's still alive, living in a nursing home 3 hours south. He drives there immediately. Dr. Westfield is 89 years old, sharp as a blade, and deeply unwilling to talk about Project Threshold. But when Hale mentions Bray Road, her expression changes. You've seen it, she says. Not a question. A statement. The beast? Hale asks. She laughs. It's not a happy sound. The beast is a dog compared to what we let out. We thought we were opening a door we could control. We were wrong. What came through wasn't from somewhere else. It was from here. From the spaces between perception and reality. It feeds on confusion. On fear. On the moment when your brain can't process what you're seeing and starts to break down. We called it a dimensional predator, but that's just words trying to describe something that doesn't fit into language. Then what's the beast? Hale asks. Westfield looks at him like he's a child who just asked why the sky is blue. The beast is the only thing keeping it contained. Has been for decades. Before the project, before the experiment, that creature was there. Watching. Waiting. When we tore the barrier, it sensed what was coming through and fought it. The beast isn't a monster, Sheriff. It's a guardian. And if you kill it, there won't be anything stopping what's on the other side from spreading beyond Bray Road. To the whole county. Maybe further. Hale wants to dismiss her as senile. Delusional. But he can't. Because everything she's saying matches what he's seen. The symbols. The protective behavior. The fear in the beast's eyes. He drives back to Bray Road as the sun sets. His phone rings. It's Deputy Torres. Sheriff, we've got another body. This one is different. The victim, a hiker named Marcus Chin, is still alive when they find him. Barely. He's curled in a fetal position on the side of the road, eyes wide open, staring at nothing. When the paramedics try to move him, he starts screaming. Not words. Just sound. Raw terror-given voice. At the hospital, the doctors can't find anything physically wrong with him. No injuries. No toxins. But his brain activity is off the charts. It's like he's experiencing every traumatic memory he's ever had all at once, the neurologist explains. I've never seen anything like it. Hale visits Chen's hospital room. The man is sedated, but his eyes are still open. Still staring. And in the reflection of his pupils, Hale swears he can see shadows moving. That night, Hale returns to his office and finds something on his desk he didn't leave there. A photograph. Old, faded, dated 1994. It shows his father, Sheriff Marcus Hale, standing next to the beast. Not fighting it. Standing with it. Like allies. On the back, in his father's handwriting, a single sentence: some monsters guard the gates. Others walk through them. Everything Hale believed for 30 years crumbles in that moment. His father didn't disappear because the beast killed him. His father disappeared because he learned the truth and couldn't live with having hunted the wrong thing. Hale makes a decision. He's going back into those woods. And this time, he's going to listen. Hale enters the forest preserve at midnight. He's armed, but the weapon feels wrong in his hands now. Insufficient. He follows the symbols carved into the trees, the marks the beast left behind. They lead him deeper than he's ever gone, to a part of the forest where the air feels heavier, where sound doesn't travel right, where his flashlight beam seems to bend before it hits the ground. The clearing he finds himself in is wrong. The trees here are twisted, growing at angles that defy gravity. The ground is covered in symbols, hundreds of them, carved so deep they've become part of the earth itself. And in the center stands the beast. It's injured worse than Hale realized. Deep wounds across its chest and back. Blood matting its fur. But it's standing guard in front of something. A gap in the air. A tear. Like reality itself has been cut open and something behind it is trying to push through. Hale raises his weapon. His finger touches the trigger. But before he can make the decision to fire, the tear widens. And the entity steps through. It's impossible to describe accurately because the human brain isn't designed to process it. Hale sees a shape that suggests limbs, but they bend in directions that don't exist. He sees a face, or what might be a face, with too many eyes or maybe no eyes at all, depending on which angle he looks from. It moves like stop-motion footage, here then there then here again without crossing the space between. And the sound it makes, that metallic screech mixed with organic wetness, fills the clearing until Hale can feel it vibrating in his teeth. The beast roars. It's a sound of rage and defiance and exhaustion. It charges the entity, claws extended, and for a moment, Hale sees the fight for what it is. Not a predator attacking. A guardian defending. The beast swipes at the entity, and where its claws connect, the air itself ripples. The entity recoils, and Hale understands. The symbols aren't just marks. They're weapons. The beast has been carving them for decades, creating a network of spiritual barriers that keep this thing contained. But the barriers are failing. The entity is adapting. Learning. Growing stronger. Hale makes a choice. He lowers his weapon. Steps forward. The beast sees him, snarls, but doesn't attack. Instead, it moves to the side, creating space. An invitation or a test, Hale isn't sure. The entity notices him. Focuses on him. And suddenly, Hale is drowning in memories he's tried to forget. His father's empty cruiser. His mother's funeral. Every failure, every mistake, every moment of fear and doubt and shame flooding his consciousness all at once. He falls to his knees. The gun slips from his hand. The entity moves closer. It's feeding. Hale can feel it, pulling at the edges of his mind like fingers prying open a locked door. A few more seconds and he'll end up like Marcus Chen, trapped in an endless loop of psychological torment. The beast attacks again. This time, it grabs Hale by the collar and throws him backwards, away from the entity. Hale hits the ground hard, and the impact shocks him back to awareness. He sees the beast advancing on the entity, sees it using its body to block Hale from the creature's influence. Hale understands now. Completely. This creature has been killing people for decades, feeding on their fear and pain until their minds broke. And the beast has been fighting it the entire time. Alone. Injured. Exhausted. Because it was the only thing that could. Hale spots his gun on the ground. Picks it up. But instead of aiming at the beast, he aims at the entity. The bullets do nothing. Pass through it like it's made of smoke. But they distract it. Give the beast an opening. The beast lunges forward and drives its claws into the tear itself. The symbols carved into the clearing floor begin to glow with a faint blue light. The entity shrieks, that horrible metallic scream, and tries to retreat back through the gap. The beast doesn't let it. It grabs the edges of the tear with both hands and pulls. Forcing it closed. Sealing it. The light intensifies. The entity convulses, half in this world, half in whatever nightmare dimension it came from. And then, with a sound like breaking glass, the tear snaps shut. The entity is gone. Banished or destroyed, Hale can't tell. The beast collapses. Breathing hard. Bleeding from dozens of wounds. It looks at Hale one last time. And Hale finally understands what he sees in those red eyes. Not malice. Not hunger. Just exhaustion. Relief. And maybe, just maybe, gratitude. The beast stands. Limps toward the tree line. Hale calls out, "Wait." It stops. Looks back. Hale doesn't know what to say. Sorry seems insufficient. Thank you seems inadequate. So he just nods. A gesture of respect. Of acknowledgement. The beast nods back. Then disappears into the shadows. And Hale is alone in the clearing, surrounded by glowing symbols that slowly fade back to ordinary scratches in the dirt. 3 days later, Sheriff Conroy Hale files his final reports on the Bray Road murders. Official cause of death for all victims, undetermined animal attack. Recommendations: close the state forest preserve indefinitely, increased patrols on Bray Road, psychological counseling for affected families. He doesn't mention the entity. Doesn't mention Project Threshold. Doesn't mention what he saw in that clearing. Because who would believe him? And more importantly, what good would it do? The threat is contained. The beast is still out there, still guarding the barrier. That's all that matters. But he does something else. Something no one notices. He quietly archives every hunting permit issued for the Bray Road area. Makes the forest a protected zone. Increases the penalties for trespassing to the point where people stop trying. He can't protect the beast directly. Can't acknowledge what it is or what it does. But he can make sure it's left alone to do its job. Late one night, he drives out to the old Hale family cabin, a place he hasn't visited since his father disappeared. Inside, he finds what he's looking for. His father's journal. Page after page of observations, sketches, theories. All about the beast. All trying to understand what it was protecting them from. The final entry is dated the night his father vanished. It reads, "I've spent 30 years hunting monsters. Tonight, I realized I've been shooting at the guards while the prisoners watched from the shadows. I'm going to make this right. If I don't come back, tell Conroy the truth. Tell him some things are worth protecting, even if we don't understand them. Especially if we don't understand them." Hale closes the journal. Sits in the darkness of his father's cabin. And for the first time in 3 decades, he understands what his father tried to do. Marcus Hale didn't disappear because the beast killed him. He disappeared because he tried to help it. Went into the forest to repair the barriers. And maybe, just maybe, succeeded. At the cost of his own life. Conroy Hale writes his own entry in the journal. Just 2 sentences. "I spent my life hunting the wrong monster. Tonight, I finally learned what heroism really looks like." 6 months pass. Bray Road returns to its sleepy, rural existence. The murders stop. The hikers report feeling uneasy in the forest, but nothing worse than that. Life goes on. But the reports continue. Different reports now. A trucker whose rig breaks down on Bray Road at midnight finds himself guided back to the highway by a dark shape moving through the trees. A group of teenagers who ignore the no trespassing signs and venture into the preserve get lost, then find themselves following scratch marks in the bark that lead them safely out. A child who wanders away from a family picnic is found hours later, unharmed, sitting in a clearing surrounded by symbols carved into the dirt. The beast is still out there. Still watching. Still guarding. One Tuesday morning, Sheriff Hale finds an envelope in his mailbox. No return address. No postage. Inside is a photograph. Recent, judging by the digital quality. It shows a section of Bray Road at night. In the foreground, clear as day, are the beast's footprints. Large. Deep. Unmistakable. And walking alongside them, human boot prints. Size 11. The same size Hale wears. At the bottom of the frame, scratched into the dirt, a symbol. One Hale recognizes from the clearing. The symbol for protection. On the back of the photo, written in handwriting Hale doesn't recognize, a single word, listen. Hale pins the photo to his office wall. Right next to the map of Bray Road. Right next to the cold case file for Sheriff Marcus Hale. And he leaves it there as a reminder. Not of failure. Not of monsters. But of the thing he learned in that clearing. The thing his father tried to teach him. Sometimes the monster isn't the thing that roars in the darkness. Sometimes it's the thing we're too afraid to see. The thing hiding in plain sight, wearing a familiar face, speaking in trusted voices. The real monsters don't have claws and red eyes. They have suits and smiles and explanations that sound reasonable until you look too closely. And sometimes, the creature we call a monster is the only thing standing between us and something far worse. Something that doesn't want to kill us quickly. Something that wants to feed on us slowly, draining everything that makes us human until we're just empty shells walking through empty lives. The Beast of Bray Road is still out there. Still watching from the tree line. Still carving symbols into the earth. And Sheriff Conroy Hale, former monster hunter, current guardian of secrets, makes sure it stays that way. Because he learned the hard way that some legends exist for a reason. Some warnings are worth heeding. And some monsters deserve our protection. Because they're the only thing protecting us. The last confirmed sighting of the beast was reported by Deputy Torres 3 weeks ago. She was driving home after a late shift when she saw it standing at the edge of Bray Road, silhouetted against the moonlight. She didn't radio it in. Didn't file a report. Just waved. And according to her, the beast raised one massive paw. A gesture of acknowledgement. Maybe even farewell. Or maybe, just maybe, it was saying, I'm still here. Still watching. You're safe. And in a world where the real monsters wear human faces, where the real threats hide in bureaucratic files and classified experiments and the spaces between what we know and what we're willing to admit, maybe that's the most comforting thing anyone could hear. The Beast of Bray Road. Guardian. Protector. Misunderstood. And absolutely, undeniably real. This is where the legend ends. Or maybe, where it finally begins. Listen.